I was like, I don't know, for my mother, I was like, I'm happy, happy. So if the love is flowing from the parents to the child unimpeded, and there's still issues, then we're going to look into other generations. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, you can put that way. Giving that the child is able to receive the love. That is, hi, Katrina. That is more often.
Hi, I'm sorry.
That is more often the case that that the child is not able to receive. And that's what we call the interrupted movement towards the mother.
Okay.
Good. Okay, so let me share the slides, and then we are diving into it.
Question.
Yeah.
You can have uninterrupted or whatever interrupted movement towards the father as well.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Here we go. All right. So today we are looking at the third order of love, and that is the order of balance. That is balance or a balancing of giving and receiving. Let's quickly go through the first two. What was the first order?
Belonging.
The order of
belonging.
Love.
Or yeah, first order of love, or what was the other term?
Inclusion.
That was the second one, or wasn't it?
Belonging, inclusion.
The first one is the that's inclusion. You're right, Birna. Very good. And the second order of love?
Precedence.
Destiny.
Precedence. The order of precedence. Exactly. Now we are looking at the third order of love, balance. So that means in the family constellation, we first establish who are we constellating for? Who's the client? Sometimes complicated question, or not so obvious. Let's put it that way. Then we immediately calculate who's part of their family system, and we dismiss any mentioning of any people that are not part of their family system. And then that was the first order of love. We come into the second order of love. Now we find if these members are in the right order of precedence. Yeah, who comes first? No. And then that means also to add those who have been not acknowledged. Yeah. And then finally we come to the third order of love, balance. Because what we then see is something is out of balance, and there needs to be some steps taken by the representative to move the souls towards healing, so the love can flow again. The order of balance is all about giving and receiving in relationships, because it's all about relationships, of course, right? It's always about one relating to the other. The order of balance is different in the different relationships. They are not the same. So therefore, we need to see first what kind of relationship we are working with before we know what needs balance. We have the mother-child relationship and the father-child relationship. That means from the parents to the child, or from the child to the parent, depending with whom we are working. And then we have the third relation, or we have the relationship to ancestors as well, that we will briefly look at. And then we have, of course, the relationship with partners. Yeah. And they are also following a different order than the ones within the bloodline. And all of this we will discover today. So, mother-child relationship. In the orders of love, it is shown that regardless if the mother was there or not, if the mother, was able to care for the child or not, or maybe even died by giving birth to the child, it's still mother's love that the child needs on an energetic level. That nothing can replace that. Yeah. Regardless how well the child has been looked after. On the other hand, mother always is capable of letting the love flow, regardless if she's there in presence, if she's still alive, or if she has passed on. On an energetic level, she is always capable, and willing to let the love flow. The only way that mother's love cannot flow is that she herself has a traumatic experience with her mother, and she has her own interrupted movement. That is possible and happens a lot, that we see a row of interrupted movements towards the mother in multiple generations. If this is not the case, the mother is able to let the love flow. Yeah, unless she is not entangled. That's another case that we look at later. So what I want to say here is that this mother's love is naturally there. She doesn't need to produce it. Yeah, it is something she has no control over neither. It is coming from the source of love and light. If a woman gives new life into the world, yeah, it comes with this love. Yeah, it is not nothing that is in her hand to create it or not create it, to hold it back or to reform it or whatsoever on an energetic level, right? As long as she herself has received it. Received from her mother, and so forth. So that goes all the way back to the source of this love, where it comes from. And this is most important to understand, that this is a one-way flow of love. Yeah. Laura?
Is it possible for the mother's love to flow even if she has not had access to her mother's, or her is entangled with something else?
If this is interrupted, the flow, she can't let it flow. No. When
So
it's
even if she
interrupted, it's
has
interrupted. It's like when it's interrupted, it's interrupted. It cannot flow.
So she can't create it herself or tap into it herself?
No. She's the mother's. This works like a conduit. Think of a conduit. That mothers are letting this love flow instinctively, if you will. Yeah, they don't have it under control, and they cannot form it, and they cannot hold it back just because they want to. It can look like it, of course, it can appear like it, but on an energetic level, and that's all we talk about here, yeah, it can flow when the mother herself, and it is flowing when the mother herself has no interrupted movement, yeah, or entanglement. And that the only way to see that, if it's not obvious in real life, is in a family constellation with representatives. They will show if that's the case or not. So this is maybe the most important message from today. Mothers and fathers, in brackets, yeah, we talk about that later. Love flows one way. The love of the child doesn't flow back Of course, the child loves the mother. That's not what we're talking about. But this energetic love that is sustaining and nourishing life, yeah, cannot be given back. That would be, again, this ping pong situation, no movement. It has to flow. Just think of the stream that we talked about, the stream of water that flows from the source up in the mountains where the spring is, down, small stream becomes bigger and bigger into the ocean. It's exactly mother's love. It's the same. It springs forth from the source of love and light and life, yeah, and it runs down through all generation, or never ending until, of course, there is no child anymore, never ending until it comes, to an end, which is the ocean, which is when there is no descendant. Even then, it can still flow, but it stops there because there is no descendants to receive it. That is one of the also, how can I say it, findings of Bert Hellinger that he had to fight for because society didn't like the idea. And, yeah, that is a one-way street, and the child doesn't need to give anything back. Here we talk about balance. So yes, the child is balancing out this receiving, but in another way, not in the attempt to give the same back to the mother. That would not be in the orders of love and would create a blockage in the flow of love. And we will talk about that, of course, in the next 3 hours. Children, however, grow up, right? And if they have their own children, then they give this love that they have received to their children. And that's the only way this love can flow. In case they have no children, they can also let the love flow to another good cause, like an animal sanctuary or something like that, right? Or looking for whatever people in need. Yeah, so they can relieve themselves from letting the love flow. However, it's the ocean situation. Then when there is no descendant, of course, then there is also the end of the stream of love. No? It's a little bit, if you look at an upside down tree, I like this picture. Some branches, that's are all the descendants, the love flows there into the branches and they come to an end, right? There are no children. But then there grow new branches from the same root, from the same trunk, which is the family system, yeah, or the greater picture of the family. And then so there's like a cousin that then has children. So in a way, everything continues, but this specific family system that we might look at from the perspective of the last child, that will kind of cease to exist, right? In the future, no, not in the past. It will always be there. Will always be there in the past. What are children giving to the mother is their appreciation, their gratitude, yeah? That they appreciate and are grateful for the mother's love that they have received, that is nourishing, understanding them, and that they have received. However, this can only be expressed when the child has it received, which you will see in lots of cases is not it's not possible for the child until healing is offered. Once healing has taken place and the love and the child can receive mother's love, then they can also thank the mother for it. Yeah. And you see that in a family constellation beautifully when we talk about the words, next module, that the representatives of the children are physically not able to say thank you before they not have received the love. Yeah. So again, That is not a theory, of course, but this is something you and everybody else can perceive over and over again in family constellation. This thankfulness or this gratitude is only true when it comes without judgment. And what is a word that announces a judgment is following when you say thank you, but, yeah? Thank you, but I wish you would have been, I don't know, more often there, or thank you, but I wish you would have sent me to this school and not to that. That is not what we are talking about. We are talking about a heartfelt thank you for life, for everything, yeah, for who I am, without any judgment, without putting conditions on it or anything like this. Yeah? And that is what the representatives say, and that is what comes up in a family constellation, and that is what gives then the freedom to the children, now grown up, to let the love flow towards their children. So we have first, we need the flow of love from the mother to the child, and there we need to see, is there anything needs to be done in former generations, former mothers? Is there anything to be done so she can receive the love? And once the mother is able to receive the love, she naturally let it flow towards the children. And now we need to work on that the child can receive the love. And when that is possible, the child can say from the heart, without any conditions, thank you to the mother, and then can let this love flow towards their children. So that is the stream that you see here. And it's wonderful to see that in family constellation. Oh, it happens every single time, and a lot of cases are these interrupted movements where this healing is applied with very simple but very profound moves and words. Yeah. Selena, see you come in again with another device. Yeah.
Yes, I'm switching to a laptop.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Okay. So, common problems in this unbalanced mother-child relationship is what I have said before. The child cannot receive. A child cannot receive because this movement towards the mother is interrupted. This can have many causes, and we will talk about that in module 4 in great depth. So I'm not gonna go into any details here. The mother cannot give, we talked about that. Most likely she herself has an interrupted movement. The child cannot receive love from the mother when it feels superior to the mother. That is basically closing the heart. The child needs always to feel smaller than the mother and in need to receive, in need of this love to be able to receive it. Yeah. Or the mother feels weak towards the child. That's also an unbalance in the mother-child relationship. Here, we need to find out, with the help of representatives and the orders of love, why, or not I say why, what's the reason, yeah, that the mother feels weak towards the child? What is her trauma that makes her weak? You might know that or not know that, but I just say it just in case. If somebody's traumatized, the energy level is very low. Yeah, because it takes a lot of energy to keep this traumatizing experience out of the consciousness and kind of away. Yeah, so one doesn't need to think about it, and it's well hidden in the subconscious, and that all takes energy. So in general, the energy level is low when somebody is traumatized, no? And that makes then in a representative, like the representative that you see in the family constellation will express that as weakness. So here we know the mother is traumatized, most likely has her own interrupted movement, or is entangled with somebody else in the family who is traumatized. That's also always the possibility. So father-child relationship is similar. So all the principles we talked about just before all apply also to the father-child relationship. There is no difference. The only difference I can say is that it happens less often, that there is a severe interruption, than to the mother, which is absolutely standard, because the child doesn't feel the dependency on the father in the first years that much. So when something happens in the relationship between a child and father in the crucial first years, it often does not create a trauma in the child, and therefore they are able to receive father's love. However, it is absolutely common that there is an imbalance in father-child relationship, and it needs to be looked at exactly as in the mother-child relationship. There is no difference. Also here, the love flows only down from father to child, and the children are not supposed to give anything back of this love, right? Also here, children give to their children or to a good cause. That's also the case. And also here, children are grateful for the father to give life, to make sure that they can exist in whatever way that has happened. Now, the most difficult cases are when the child is a produce of a rape, for example, yeah, or in abuse in the family, of course. But as I said before, we are not working with these people, we are working with representatives. So re-traumatizing is not possible. No? And when you have a client who doesn't know the father, but knows from the mother that she has been raped, yeah, and he's the product, then you will have to not attach to the story, yeah, but stay in the field where you are in the consciousness, in the spirit consciousness, where you can connect to the morphogenetic field with your knowledge that for whatever reason it is a destiny that this happened and that this child was born. It is always a gift. Yeah, every life is a gift without any doubt. Yeah, and for the family system, this child is as precious as every other, probably even more precious. And for the family system, the father is as precious as every other father. There is no judgment how this life came to pass. And we are not in this situation to judge neither, of course, and we cannot work with family constellation. So this is probably the most difficult to learn as a beginner facilitator, to not tap into this energy of how can I say it? I want to like to say story, but it's not a story, it's a tragedy, but not to see it as a tragedy. Yeah, that is probably difficult, but that is absolutely necessary for to be able to work with family constellation. Yeah, so nobody is judging. Nobody is judging the family constellation, at least not the family constellator, the facilitator. That's for sure, right? So whatever has happened, whatever the client says has happened, if you feel a shock or something, if that is kind of shocking you, or you feel something is, You can't be objective anymore. You can't be empty anymore. You can't be kind of you're choosing sides, yeah, if you will. You have to find a way to get out of there before you start to facilitate. No? Take a moment, take a deep breath, go outside, whatever you can do, whatever you like, yeah, and get back to this centeredness from where you acknowledge the role of the father as crucial for this life coming into pass, and that it had to be that way for reasons we don't know and we don't ask why. Yeah. The role of the children is to receive father's love without judgment. Now, that's the same as in mother's love. Of course, when the father left, or in this case of rape, was a rapist, or is abusing the mother physically all the time, or whatever happened in this family, and there are lots of things happening in families behind closed doors, yeah. Whatever the father does, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. It is purely the father's love that they receive from their father, that they pass on through giving life to this child. And that's what the child needs. And often the child is expected to be judgmental against the father because the mother is talking badly about the father, for example, or other relatives or whoever. And the child grew up with the idea that he has a very bad father. Right? And that is so hard. That's heartbreaking for the child. No? Because the child wants to receive this love from the father. Because instinctively the child knows that it needs this love. No? And as you remember maybe yesterday, what has fathers face? Yes, addiction. So these children who cannot receive father's love, or out of many, many reasons, sometimes purely because they grew up with being told the father is not lovable, they often get addicted. And that I'm not only talking about drugs or alcohol, it could be gaming or gambling, I have to say, gambling, or sex addiction is also common. Nobody talks about that. The brothels are full with sex addicts, of course, and all kinds of addiction, or food addiction. All kinds of addictions can happen, and yeah, they have in most cases father's face, meaning they couldn't receive father's love. And if it is the father who cannot let the love flow, or the child who cannot receive it, that is only something you can see in a family constellation when you have the representatives. No, you cannot just from what you hear conclude. We are not concluding anything. We are looking, we are observing, we are observers. We observe in a family constellation what the representatives are revealing. Yeah? That is one of our most important roles, is not only to stay in our own energy and connected to the spirit consciousness and stay away from any kinds of judgments. We also stay away from any kind of pre-conclusion. Yeah, because we heard something. We always need to see it. We always need to experience. And even now, after over 20 years that I'm facilitating and teaching family constellations, when I am facilitating a family constellation, I still do not assume what's happening. Right? Not even the thousands interrupted movement towards the mother. I assume it looks exactly like everybody else. Because it's very, very important to stay in the observer role and allow whatever wants to be revealed, because there might more steps necessary than you would think, if you would think, and you wouldn't see it, you would miss it. Evelyn.
Can I ask a question about the love situation with father and child? What's the situation when a child at a young age feels already like responsible for their father? Is that also a sign of the interrupted love that is there already and creates the addiction, or is there
That's
more
a good question.
chance?
There are actually several reasons for that. And as always, we don't know until we see the case with representatives. But in theory, when the child in young age already looks after the father, it is definitely an imbalance of the second order of love precedent, because the father comes first and then the child. So the father needs to look after the child, not the other way around. Yeah. So that we know for sure that there is a breach, and then we need to find out how can that be balanced. Yeah, and that we know through representatives. So the reasons can be multiple why this happens. The father, for example, could have an interrupted movement himself and feels very, very weak, right? Very, very weak, energetically weak, or is addicted as well because he has an interrupted movement to his father, or he might have an interrupted movement to both his mother and his father. So this trauma towards his mother, which brings his energy level low, and then this interrupted movement towards father, which makes him being vulnerable to addictions, for example. Yeah, so he becomes an alcoholic or something, and that brings his energy field completely down, and he cannot look after himself anymore, and then the child takes over feeling responsible because nobody else does. Yeah, so this all starts with the father, of course, right? So in this case, we have a client. Let's say the client is an adult child or the grown-up child. Of course, then we look at mother-father relationship with the representative and see if there is love flowing or not, and if not, where did the love flow was interrupted in former generations. No? And that's how we find out.
But it's likely for the child to be going into addiction as well if it already happens like that in early age, right?
If it's also an interrupted movement towards the father, yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And it would be an interrupted movement towards the father most likely because the father wouldn't be emotionally available for the child, right?
Yeah.
And we're not talking about young child. Obviously, the child is older when they look after the father, right? So there's a little bit of a balance or a mixture between, okay, the interrupted movement, you will learn all of that later, is most severe in the early childhood, yeah, but it can be later, especially towards the father. Because in the first years, the child needs the mother more, and then in the next years, the child needs the father more. And if these circumstances that are not allowing the father to be available to the child are happening in this time frame there somewhere, then the interrupted movement takes place. Of course, there can always be a family pattern and entanglements, right? So it's not always, but that's why you need to see it in the family constellation. What's what, and there are clear signs for that, so that you will learn. So there's no doubt, no mistaken. Celine, you have a question.
Yes, so I was curious. You mentioned that the manifestation of interrupted father and child relationship is addiction. My first question would be, does it differ from like male and female clients? And then for
You
the
mean
second
if the child is a daughter or a son?
yes, and then the second one, what's the manifestation for mother interrupted flow? Is there a science for mother?
So to your first question, there is no difference if the child is a daughter or a son. The interruption would have the same result. The daughter can be addicted as well, obviously, right? So that's absolutely possible. And the second question was, say it again, what was that?
For the mother-child relationship that's interrupted, what would be the signs of manifestation on the client?
If the client is a child or the mother?
Sorry, you mentioned that father-child relationship, if it's interrupted, it will manifest to addiction.
Yeah.
Say if the mother and child relationship is
Ah,
interrupted, is
you
there
missed that yesterday.
what's the manifestation? I was curious about it.
Yeah. Oh, you missed that yesterday. So there is a saying from Bert Hellinger: success has mother's face. Success has mother's face. So when somebody is struggling with success, either in the professional or in relationships or wherever they want to be successful and they cannot achieve it, the likelihood that there's an interrupted movement towards the mother is great.
So success can be perception. Success can also be manifestation in terms of their own success. Is that
yeah, own success. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, own success. So remember, just so you can remember the dynamics, mother success has mother's face and addiction has father's face. So the common problems in father-child relationship are that the father is rejected. That's very, very common, that the client says, oh, my father was not there much, and I really don't need him. That's it. I really don't need him. That's a clear sign when a client says something like that they have an interrupted movement towards the father because they are rejecting the love from him. Of course, the father cannot give is the other common problem. And again, like with the mother, you just have to look further back. Where is that coming from? No? Where does the father had his interruption? And then, of course, that is the father has an interrupted movement towards the mother or the father, right? So it's not like you're not looking in the family constellation when you see an interruption in multiple generations, necessarily in the same gender. So daughter, mother, 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 mother. It could be that there is a daughter interrupted movement towards the mother and the mother has an interrupted movement towards the father, right? It is possible. It's not very likely because it most often sticks, it's like a pattern, yeah, is in the same family, but more commonly the interruption is towards both mother and father. Yeah. So that's what you see more. And of course, there need to be healing movements towards both. Then, in order to make, to give the client the happiness and freedom they want, yeah, being relieved of this trauma.
What does that mean?
Interrupted movements towards the mother. It's such a mouthful that I intend to abbreviate that. Okay, we look also at the teacher-student relationship. I think I talked about that yesterday already briefly. Yeah, the teacher-student relationship is similar to father-child relationship. Let's say every authority, if you will, every authority is similar to the father relationship. So when somebody experiences problems with an authority, then it is most likely, I always have to say that because I don't know before I see it, but it is most likely that when you constellate that it appears to be the father where the interrupted movement is. Celine, is there a question to this?
Maya wanted to ask for a case of a part where it's a mother and a mother in a family, and then just this is a father and mother, I understand, but let's say if the client's case is like they come from a family where they have two mothers or two fathers, How does this
Okay,
curve?
so
Yeah.
right, you were not there on the first day, so you don't know that. When we talk about mother and father, we only talk about the birth, the biological mother and father. There's only one. There's always only one. There's only one egg and one sperm that come together and form new life. And in our work, we are not working with any other relationships. That's different to family therapy. And this is also why we don't call family constellation therapy. Because we don't know, we don't expect to know anything before we see it. Yeah? So we will look at it through the representatives, but what we know is, because we are following the orders of love, as developed by Bert Hellinger, what we know is when child, mother, and father, the nuclei family is represented, it is a biological mother and biological father, regardless if the child knows them, regardless if they know they have a child, like a father, you know, who had just a one-night stand with the mother and took off and never heard. That is all equal. That doesn't matter. Yeah. In a family constellation, we see the biological mother and father. Okay.
Sorry to miss out the first session. I understand the context.
Very good. Okay. As always, in the mother-father, in the father-child relationship, also here the love goes one way, right? It is from the teacher to the student. It's not back from the student to the teacher. They are supposed to become a teacher when the time is right themselves to pass it on. Yeah. So here also is the only way to balance the relationship is gratitude, thankfulness for receiving what they receive, yeah, and passing it on. That is the important part. This passing on is the important part, yeah. So that is at one point the student needs also to teach to let the love flow in the right direction, yeah, downwards like the stream of water. And we're not teaching like making it the formal teaching, just to share what they know. Yeah, to share depends on in what you know what kind of teachings we're talking about, but to share what they know, to use it to help others, to raise frequencies, to pass on knowledge, to whatever they do, and even if they just write a blog post or whatever they can share, right, or some Facebook post or something. So whatever they can share, there will be a need to do that, and that is very healthy, and then that is good to follow that, but not too early. First, everything needs to be received before one can give. So that's very important. First, receiving, taking it to the heart, being grateful when everything is received, and then starting to let it flow. It's all about the flow in love, in life, and in love, but especially in life. It's all about the flow. Let's look at the ancestral relationships. They are pretty much the same as parents. They give and the descendants receive, because they are part of this stream, of this chain or conduit or channel where the love comes through. They're all part of it. Without any of the ancestors we count first order of love as part of the family system, without one of them, the client wouldn't exist. He wouldn't be there, no? So that is the importance. That is the importance of giving life, and that is what the family system wants to make sure. That as life is given, now the love needs to flow. Because the family system wants to be elevated as well. The family system wants to evolve, like we all want to evolve. The family system as such wants to come in a higher state of beingness. And every trauma, every time there is an interruption in the flow of life, love, then it is hold on a low energy level. Yeah, and the family system is striving to clear all of that and to evolve and to and it's a soul. It's a soul like we are all. It's just on another level, in another realm, and that's their goal. However, the ancestors are not, unless the generations are part of a repeated interrupted movement, of course, then you have a specific great parent. But if that's not the case, if the ancestors are there other than an interrupted movement, they give blessings. So everything that is in imbalance, we are talking about balancing of giving and receiving. Everything that is in imbalance can be balanced towards the ancestors by honor and respect towards the ancestors and blessing from the ancestors towards the descendants. Yeah. So that is how any imbalance can be healed. How do ancestors bless a descendant? Is very easy. You ask the representative to say, you ask the descendant to say to the ancestor, please bless me. And then the ancestor will say, yes, I'm happy to bless you. Very simple. The ancestors give through their children, right? Because without the children of the ancestors born, the client or you wouldn't exist again, right? And that's all what is really important. Now, a way to receive the blessings from the ancestors is that they live a very good life, a happy and free life. Yeah? That is the greatest gift towards the ancestors and how they can honor them. And sometimes it is the healing movement is achieved or ignited when the descendant says, to the ancestor, thank you for your blessing. I will make an extraordinary effort to live, or I will strive to live an extraordinary life in order to honor your gift, your life, the gift of life from you. And the opposite of it is if, guess what? What would be the opposite of that? What do you say, Werner?
I don't need anything.
What is the opposite of it?
Being
That
ungrateful.
would be
Grateful.
Yeah, ungrateful, but what
they
is
are
the
shame.
what is the
A shame.
okay, yeah. And what would be the worst they can do?
Guilt.
Blaming
Blame
them.
them.
Yeah, worse than that. Worse than that.
I don't need you. Telling
Worse
them that
than that. Worse than that.
Blaming them.
Besides-
Kill them. Kill them.
Yeah, suicide.
oh
Suicide is the worst they can do
Suicide.
to their ancestors. Yeah,
Oh,
to throw the life away they have been given.
oh wow.
And this, you see, in family constellation, that causes a great suffering in the family system, all the way to the ancestors.
What is the manifestation, Maya, that family constellation see if there is a person who do suicide in the family?
I'm not sure if I understand your question.
You mentioned that suicide is the worst that you can do, and then it will also like tip down towards the next generation, right? Tip down the energy of the whole family.
Yeah.
Want to
Also
know
back,
what is the manifestation if, like, let's say you do suicide, and then what will happen towards the next family or next generation? Is there any impact?
Of course, Celine, every trauma in a family system, and we talk about trauma when something is not in the orders of love. This is why you learn the orders of love. if there's a breach of the orders of love, this causes a trauma in the family system. And the suicide is, of course, a breach of the orders of love, of balance. Yeah? Because instead of receiving life and love, they take it. Yeah? These imbalance will be in the family system stored for eternity, if you will. Yeah? Until one is ready to come to a family constellation who works with healing orders of love and clear that where it happened. And when the balance is achieved, because the one who has taken his life turns to the ancestor and said, I honor your gift of life. Yeah. You have to forget about therapy and how you would do that in therapy. Yeah. We, in family constellation, we ignore time and space. It's not there. It's all happening now, here, right now. There is no yesterday, no tomorrow. There is no past generation. They are there. They are represented. Yeah. And so the healing is applied in this moment, and it goes back and forth at least 7 generations. That's where we look at. We look 7 generations back, and we acknowledge 7 generations forward. That's it. Yeah.
That's very biblical, Maya, 7 generation. Yeah.
Yeah. It's enough anyhow. Exactly.
Can you give a generalized, I don't know, might be a really difficult question, but is there a certain standard of how long it takes to clear a certain issue in a family line?
No answer to that. Sometimes it's a lifetime of work, peeling on one onion layer after the other. Sometimes there is a great relief with the first family constellation in the family system that takes the most grief away. Yeah, so it's very, very hard to say. There's no answer to that.
So you don't know exactly if people realize, because it can happen quite a bit later as well, right? I mean, it's not necessarily an instant thing. So it's hard for the client to maybe see exactly like, oh, this has happened because of the constellation.
Exactly. That is very hard to see, and that's what you have to be up for as a facilitator. The best case is always the client completely forgets about his issue and you.
Say that again, please.
The best case is that the client completely forgets about the issue and you as a facilitator. It is as if it has never happened. Yeah. That happens. And that is beautiful, but because it is so cleared, the long existing family intergenerational trauma, literally as if it has never happened. So the client doesn't remember. It doesn't remember that there was an issue and that has been cleared. So yes, from this perspective, facilitating family constellation is not not there rewarding in this respect of that you get a lot of praise from your client. No, it is to make the client free and happy. Free from yourself as well, of course.
People forget pretty quickly anyway. As soon as, when you have pain, it's very obvious you have pain, but as soon as the pain's gone, they're forgetting they ever had it.
Exactly. Yeah, I know that for myself. I had a little cut here in my ear for all winter, all New Zealand winter. And it was really annoying, and it was a little bit hurtful as well. Nothing really, I not went to the doctor or something. And then I was overseas for 6 weeks, and I came back, and just a few days I noticed I haven't had that anymore. And it was really bad for over half a year. I didn't notice. I didn't notice when it went. I didn't notice when this discomfort was gone. I didn't notice any of these. Yeah. So that's exactly how it is. That's exactly how it is with family constellation. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's really good. And that's the best case. So that we need to embrace. No, I tell you something. That there was a constellation in person here in New Zealand that I facilitated in a group, and it was a person I know, an acquaintance, not very close friend, and she had an issue for her son, and this and she said the son was so rude to her in the morning. It was a lovely boy. I think he was 7 or something. A lovely boy, and she's a lovely woman. The family is really nice. And he woke up and was really rude to her, right? I mean, really rude. And then after half an hour or so, when he came to breakfast, it was all normal sweet boy. And she was really desperate because she felt, very hurt from that. And of course, I had immediately ideas, but we had representatives. Representing 3 people. That was him, the son. That was what I knew. It was an attached spirit to him, no? And then that was the world he missed. And we will talk about all that in module 4. So we facilitated to detach the spirit. It was a long and painful way. And she knew nothing what I was doing there. She had no idea. I wasn't talking to her. I was not saying what it was, yeah? Because I didn't know how open she was to that. You never know. So it's good you don't say too much, yeah? Just get the work done, yeah? And then the constellation ended that this attached spirit left the boy. And then I said to her, it was successful, obviously, and you will see he will feel much better now. I haven't heard from her. Nothing. 2 weeks later, a friend from me, who is also a friend of hers, said to me, I have to tell you something. I met her and I asked her how her son is. And she said, he's great. He's a completely different person. Yeah, he's a loving child, completely different person. She never bothered to tell me that. And she didn't even remember what we did there. It is fantastic. I love it. So, and sometimes you have this coincidence that you hear of it, and then well, it still works, even though you don't get the information firsthand. It still works every time. Yeah. So just a little story to tell you how that works with clients in family constellation, maybe in other areas too. I don't know. Yeah, that is that's what we do. By the way, that's also, and it just comes to mind. That's by the way why you also want your clients to pay before, because afterwards they might have forgotten what you have done for them. Yeah, so you always want them to pay. That is the balance of giving and receiving, and then you do your work, right? And don't let that slide, because it creates an imbalance in your relationship with your client. So, common problems and answers to our relationships. Well, who's that?
Me. Also, remember once upon a time I had some coupons, and I gave it away to a friend to participate in the yes, you remember, participate in the family constellation, in the workshop, because she had some issues. I was like, I'm gonna give this to her, she deserves it. Oh, it was so annoying. She threw this out of the window.
Yeah.
She did not appreciate it, and after the constellation she was like, she didn't like it. I did it with 2 friends, and then Maya said, you never give anything to anybody. As a facilitator, you do not worry about anyone of healing. They need to find their own healing and pay for their own consultation.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. That is very important, that everybody comes to make some effort to book a family constellation. Yeah, that is very important. and Werner, you're not the only one. Other family constellation virtual family members, they are so excited about their own healing progress, and they want to send family members and friends. It never works. Never, ever. I have never seen it working. Yeah.
Well, maybe it's a matter of being grateful, because I remember when once upon a time you invited me as a guest to the thing, and I was so happy to participate, to have a constellation, to heal. And once I knew that it's not just my healing, it's my family, my ancestors, the family that is here plus the one that are gone, for me was a big thing. Oh, I can do this, yes. And I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is true, of course, when it happens that somebody is inspired by you, yeah, and also embarks on this path of healing. That's great, but they still have to book their own session. You can talk about it, and when someone is inspired, say, "Oh, I want to do that as well." Don't tell them, "Here, I give you a coupon code. I gift it to you." Let them say, "Here's a website, sign up, go to an event." No, that's really important. They have to take effort to do it. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, that normally ends not well. So, ancestors are excluded is one of the most common problems in ancestral relationships. An ancestor is excluded, maybe just forgotten, or that's unlikely, excluded because he or she has done something that the family system was not in the collective conscience of this family. Yeah, that was against it, and then they dismissed this person, and he's never been heard of. The name is not mentioned. Future generations hear nothing of this person, and then once it comes to the descendant, who is the client, they have never heard of them. The good news is, in the family constellation, if he is entangled with this issue that the ancestor had, and the likelihoods are great because that's why the client came unconsciously, sent by the family system to look at exactly this original trauma that might causes him to be, I don't know, to be repeatedly in really bad accidents, as a matter of fact. Yeah, that can be an issue that client comes with, and then we see, aha, the reason the original trauma is an excluded ancestor. So that's happening often, and or that the ancestors are not honored, that they are not honored for whatever reason lies in the family. For example, a mother, that happened a lot former times, was a maid and got molested by the landlord there, and got pregnant, and the child is growing up as part of the family, but the mother not, right? The mother sent away and is not honored, maybe dies because she has no income, whatever tragedies happened there, and that is when the ancestor, this mother, wasn't honored. No? In family constellation, remember, we are only concerned with reconciliation or honor and respect. Yeah, that's it. There is really nothing else. Yeah, other than what you learn in module 4, what we can integrate a family constellation, detaching spirits and rebirthing and things like that. That are great tools, but the family constellation, where we use the orders of love of Bert Hellinger, they are only concerned reestablishing the flow of love, which is reconciliation, and honor and respect. And that is the balancing from giving and receiving. Yes, when we look at an entanglement with an ancestor, and of course we talk about entanglements, we have a whole module about entanglements. We will talk about that in great details. When it comes to an entanglement with an ancestors, it is important to understand that the ancestor is there in the family constellation to point at an imbalance in their generation. Yeah. So when we are looking at a balancing of giving and receiving, it's not to create balance in the current generation of the client. Yeah. It is about reestablishing this balance in former generations, all the way to the 7th generations of ancestors. Yeah, there is where balance is needed. There is where the orders of love are not obeyed. Yeah? That is really, really important to understand, that the healing is happening there, and then naturally for the client and everybody else in the family system, there is this release and the relief and this more happiness and freedom. Yeah. And this is why it's also called systemic coaching, because it includes the system and is not looking only at one person and their immediate environment, right? The descendant's role, the descendant's role is here to see the imbalance and not to fix it. So often the descendant unconsciously want to repent for their ancestor or want to fix them. We call that an entanglement, yeah? But that is not the role in the family system. The role in the family system is that through his suffering, he comes and asks for help and helps being a family constellation. And in the family constellation, the ancestors become, they get a voice, if you will, yeah? And that was the role of the client. And that he experienced healing, that is kind of a side effect of it, yeah? Originally comes for this healing, for this issue, but the family system had greater plans. Wants to fix it, wants to fix an old wound. And yeah, and the healing will just happen in his generation anyhow. What's next? The right order is the descendant is receiving blessings and the ancestor is fixing the problem, right? So that, remember, we talk about that when we talk about entanglements. When, as a facilitator, we are focusing on the generation where the imbalance occurred and the people involved there, souls for that is, because they're all dead, of course. Applying the orders of love to achieve balance there. And then the client has nothing else to do than receive, as represented in the family constellation, than receiving the blessings from them. That's it. Yeah. So we don't need to work with the client. The client is there to observe and to receive the blessing. Okay. Before the break, we have a little exercise. Did we just lose somebody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. We have a little exercise. The exercise is you meet your ancestors. We are working in a group of 2. I can work with somebody of you. It's 5 minutes for each turn. And then we have the break. So let me explain to you the exercise. Actually, 5 minutes is probably not needed in a group of 2. We can, yeah, 5 minutes total. So let's say everyone has 2 minutes and then we swap, yeah? So the way we do that is, one is representing yourself, of course, as always, and the other one is representing an ancestor. And it is important that you don't know this person. Remember, an ancestor is 5, 6, 7 generations, not the 4th or the third. So no grandparents and no great-grandparents. It is above that, or before, I have to say. So you cannot possibly know them. Yeah. And maybe you have seen a picture from your parents or so of an ancestor. Maybe, but it is better not to have a picture in your head of your ancestor. So you're really open and you look at the representative of your ancestor. You don't know if it's a man or a woman, you don't know which generation, you don't know if it's maternal or paternal line, yeah? And you connect with the ancestor, yeah? And you open your heart, yeah, with somebody you don't know. You open your heart to receive their blessing, yeah? And to acknowledge that your life wouldn't exist without them, yeah? If they wouldn't be there, if they wouldn't have passed on either an egg or a sperm in order to create that, yeah, and tap into this feeling, yeah? Okay, can we do that? Good. And then you will hear my voice after 2 minutes to swap, and then we swap, and then we come back for sharing. Don't talk. Actually, you can say, please give me a blessing to your ancestor. Yeah, if you feel like it. It's not necessary, but you can if you feel like it. Okay. And of course, the other role of the ancestor is also to observe. What do you think? What do you feel about your descendant? You know, in general, what comes up, and then we share it all together. Don't share it in the group, yeah? Okay, all right, you. So in romantic, I just quickly repeat, in romantic relationships, everyone is equal. The love we are talking about that needs to give and to be received is the same. Think of the lake situation I just explained, when the stream flows from mother, father, child down. If the child meets a partner, they are in a lake situation. They are equal. Yeah, their love is equal. That's it. Regardless if it's a man or a woman, we are looking at same love, equal love. Yeah. And when they have a child, then this love flows down again the stream. But when we look at the romantic or the partner relationship, here we go, there's the lake. So it needs to be level. That meaning giving and receiving has to be balanced. Each partner for an intact relationship needs to equally give and receive. While we all know receiving is often more difficult than giving, and that comes down to an interrupted movement towards the mother or the father, most often the mother, where the child can also not receive. And this is then translated or transferred to the partner relationship. Yeah? And then there's also the inability to receive. Giving might be easy, but giving doesn't do the trick if one cannot receive equally, no? Because it is imbalanced. Money is another form of energy. It can also be given and received. So for example, if one of the partner has more money than the other and receives from the partner a lot of whatever, attention, or they're cooking or whatever, yeah. So then that is also possible to level that out by paying for something, or by buying a gift, or by supporting the other partner with money. It is often perceived that money is something different than love. It's something lesser. It's something dirty. I don't know, but that's not true. It's just another form of love. Yeah. Everything is love. Everything can be exchanged, and that includes the most common exchange means we have in this world, which is money. Oh, sorry. Where is this now? Yeah.
Can I ask a question to that?
Hang on, it's gone. Yeah, Evelyn, I have to share
So
again.
So in a lot of relationships where when it's ended and there is the matrimonial, what do you call it? Trying to sort out the money business between people is often just that one person that feels the energy is interrupted and that still wants it, that they might want more, or can you sort of that they want that in the form of money? That's what I mean. Is that
yeah, that can be a substitute for love, right? So thinking of your court issue, right? Yes, you could argue, or you could look at it that your ex-partner wants money from you because he thinks he needs love, and he wouldn't be able to get it and not to acknowledge it. So then money is the substitute. Yeah, that's possible.
Interesting.
Definitely. Um, what am I doing here? Hang on. Here we go. So what else, other than money, we just talked about, it can be given and received in a relationship. What do you think?
Love.
Love, yeah, love in form of? Love is everything in form of?
Affection, sex,
Mhm. What else?
attention,
Tension, yeah.
Yeah, nurturing.
compliments.
Evelyn? What did you say?
I said
Evelyn, what did you? Oh, so sorry. Laura, what did you say?
compliment.
Compliment, yeah, yeah, which is kind of, yeah, attention, yeah.
Acceptance.
Say it again, Katharina.
Acceptance.
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 Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
acceptance.
Giving acceptance or receive, or how, what do you mean?
Just like, I think it's gonna be the love, right? You don't judge, you just accepting out as they are, right? So it's
It's a form of giving or receiving?
yes.
Giving?
Go giving, yeah.
Maybe we call it respect.
Yes, respect. Yes,
We
sorry.
give
Yes.
respect,
Yes.
yeah, to the other.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's good.
And
Anything else?
help. Help.
Help, of course, yeah. Physical help, helping with things, yeah.
Protection.
What is it?
Protection, maybe?
Protection can be given, of course, can also be received, yep.
Well, if there is protection, there is nourishing too.
What?
If there is protection, then there is nourishing as well.
Nourishing, yeah, nourishment can be given, of course.
Yeah, care,
Yeah,
attention.
exactly. Yeah. And of course, normal things like gifts can be given.
Like a car,
Time.
Like a car,
a house.
a house, right?
Time.
Yeah. Time, that's a biggie, yeah. Time can be given. Yeah. So just spend time nowadays, that's probably the greatest gift, right? Instead of looking at the phone and doing business and gaming or whatever, yeah, just
Quality
time.
of time.
Yeah, quality time, yeah. 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 Very good. So the important message here is in the third order of love, balance of giving and receiving in partner relationships. This, whatever you can give, needs to be balanced, meaning not one gives, they both give to each other. That doesn't need to be the same thing, obviously, right? It can be completely different things, but they need to be given and, more importantly, received by the other partner. Yeah. The receiving is also the important part. Giving does nothing when it is not received. Judgment is nothing that you give. Judgment is how you prevent receive. When you judge the partner or what they give, yeah, then you are closing your heart. You're not receiving it. It's not that you're receiving it lesser, you don't receive it. Yeah. So the partner who is judging what they get is not receiving anything. Because a judgment is the door that shuts. And this is why it is the most common reason for a breakup in a relationship. because one is judging the other. Yeah. So they cannot. The thing is, they cannot receive anymore when they judge. And interestingly, who do you think is leaving an unbalanced relationship? The one who gives more, or the one who doesn't receive enough?
Who leaves?
Who is the one who leaves normally? The one who gives some more than they receive, or the one who is not able to receive?
That one who is not able to receive because never enough.
Correct. The one who is not able to receive leaves the relationship. That is what normally happens. Yeah.
Or the one
Because-
that is giving and is tired of giving.
Yeah, you don't. Yes, can happen, but you don't see that very much. Yeah, that can happen. But more often, the last step is taken by the one who doesn't receive, who is not able to receive anymore, whose heart is closed, and that is often because of judgment. But of course, because of an interrupted movement towards the mother as well. Yeah, so no mistakes here, right? And the judgment is just a repetition that this partner has against the mother. Yeah. So in family constellation, we are always, when we have a relationship issue with our client, in the back of our head, we have the mother, and when nothing else is present, like nothing else is obvious to constellate, then we constellate the client and the mother and the partner. Three representatives, and then you will see the similarities of the movement of the client, if that is the reason for the relationship problem. So these are the common problems. One is receiving too much, or one is not receiving at all. One is giving too much, and one is not receiving at all. Not receiving doesn't need to be judgmental. Yeah, that's not the only reason why you can't receive it. It doesn't need to be an interrupted movement neither. Yeah? It could also be that you cannot accept it because it's unrealistic. Yeah. So, for example, if somebody says, please love me forever. Yeah, what is that? What is forever? That is impossible, unrealistic. Yeah. And then there is nothing that can fulfill this demand. There is no possible exchange or balance anymore. So if one is asking for unrealistic things, or is giving unrealistic, I love you forever, I love you to the end of the world, I love you forever, right? This cannot be received. It is in the nature of what has been offered that it cannot be received. We talked about that. So what is here the solution when you have an unbalanced relationship? Let's take this example of unrealistic giving, meaning I love you forever and ever, every time, every day, every minute of my life and beyond, whatever. I'm making things up. Yeah. How can that be balanced if it's unrealistic? Well, it can't, right? That's the problem. So the only solution here is that the partners find a level where they can give realistically. So one could say, when somebody says so romantically, oh, I love you forever, I give you everything, everything, then if somebody has a higher consciousness and is more settled and down to earth and more healed, yeah, they would say, I don't need that, but how about you give me a foot massage? Yeah, right now. And that would be something that can be then balanced with something that they do. Then they cook supper or something, So in a mature relationship, or if one is mature, it is possible to educate each other how to establish a communication where balance is possible, so it doesn't need to fail the relationship. Yeah. Bert Henning has something, he wrote about that a lot, but he also talked about that. How to balance in the good and balance in the bad, meaning what can love grow and what make love wither. Yeah. And that is interesting because what he's saying is when something does something bad, let's say cheating, yeah, let's say somebody is unfaithful, and cheats at the other, and the other has enough love to be willing to continue with the partnership, then, as strange as it sounds, but a balance would be they also cheat on the other, yeah, then they don't need to forgive or do anything like that. They just balance it out, doing the same thing. Yeah. It's just an example, right? And then if the love wants to grow, you don't the other one doesn't do exactly the same. He does something a little bit less harmful, probably flirting with somebody or kissing or spending the night with somebody without sleeping with them. Yeah, that would be a little bit lesser. Still balance it out. And then in ideal cases, of course, the partner would know about it. In ideal cases, the other partner would balance this out and does something also a little bit lesser. Yeah, so not cheating, not flirting all night, but maybe I don't know, flirting with somebody who's serving in the restaurant. You know what? You get the idea. So that's what he calls letting the love grow through balancing out in a hurtful behavior. Yeah, so that can actually kind of come to an established or to this lake situation again, where the surface is flat and nobody needs to do more or less again. The same goes in the bad. When somebody in this example is cheating on the other, then the other starts to cheat on him all the time. Yeah. So that would make the love lessen or wither, right? Because the hurt is added, and then the other's adding, and then the other's adding, and then the other. It's like a war, you know, where you pull out more weapons and more weapons and more weapons and all of that. So that is just an example to see how this tool of balance can nourish a relationship and also let it completely fail because it gets completely out of balance, right? When we talk about balance, we also have to talk about forgiving, and you have mentioned it a few times about forgiving. Forgiving is a tool of balance, yes, but only when this forgiving is forgetting. True forgiving means forgetting. That doesn't mean, oh, I forgive you for what you have done and always thinks about what they have done, because that is not forgotten. And as long as it is not forgotten, this cannot be forgiven, because forgiveness in this, when it's not forgotten, when it's granted, yeah, it is it makes the relationship superior. So the one who forgives makes themselves superior to the one who is forgiven. Or worse, the one who asks for forgiveness makes themselves smaller than the one who they want them to forgive. That means they establish this hierarchy, which is out of balance in the third order of love, because everybody is equal. That's the rule in a relationship, in a partner relationship. Yeah. So this forgiving doesn't work. It doesn't achieve balance. However, when the forgiving is forgetting, meaning it's completely out of the mind. Let's go back to this cheating example. Yeah, the partner completely forgets about the cheating. Has never happened. It's not ignored, and in the night they lie in bed and crunching their teeth. No, it's really forgotten. No, And you think, how can I forget something like that? It is possible. It is
Yeah.
possible. Huh?
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have also experienced that multiple times. It is possible to do that if there is the willing to do that. Yeah. It is also a technique. I think there are actually super lots of YouTube videos about that, and other sources where one can learn some techniques to forget things, like deliberately delete it out of their mind. Now, NLP is one of it, actually, neuro-linguistic programming, yeah, meditation, yoga, whatever. There
Can I
are many.
share my experience?
Yes, yes, Werner, please.
Yes, so my ex-husband was multiple affairs. So when I found out, it drove me crazy. But then I was watching a program of a judge, whoever the lady was. She always had quotes, and I loved the quotes that she was always sharing. One day she shared the quote that says, forgiveness is when we realize that we think we are punishing somebody, to realize that we are the one who are the prisoners. And I wrote that quote and I made it big and I read it every day because it resonated. It was kind of like a gift. Oh my God. One day I felt like something going, and brought peace to me to let go my husband, because I was always, you did it to me, you hurt me, and also realizing that at the end of the day, I married this guy because I was in love with him. He's the best guy ever, the father of my children. And when I spoke to people, I spoke badly about him, and I was like, this is stupid. I'm talking about my husband, who I used to love, who is the father of my children. And then, it's kind of like everything comes together and then it's gone. It's gone. I love my ex-husband as someone who came to my life. I'm grateful that he brought me here, which I used to say, you brought me here. And he used to be really mad about it. You brought me here and you left me here in this country so far away from my country. But nowadays I say thank you. I send him every time I can the thank you for everything, the good and the bad, and made me this person I am today. I am
Wonderful.
grateful. Yes.
Thank you for sharing with us. It was very powerful. Thank you. And that's exactly the healing way, especially in ex-partner relationships. Exactly that. And that is also what we are facilitating in family constellations, because the word is thank you. The word is thank you to balance everything out, which is unbalanced, which has remained unbalanced. That's the most important step. We will talk about the words in the next module. Bert Helling has also shared something that I found interesting. He said that the intimacy decreased with the firstborn child in a relationship often, yeah, but the relationship can expand into something greater than just intimacy. This is the way to stay in the relationship if both partners appreciate the widening of the relationship for the sacrifice of intimacy.
So when you say intimacy, you mean sex?
Yeah, I
This
would say
context.
sex, yeah.
In this context.
Yeah, yeah. In this context, sex, or also being together, like this intimacy of two people being together, not necessarily sex, but sharing the same space and energy, and being really together, yeah, and not just living together, just being for each other together. So when we talk about partner relationships, we maybe also mention transgender and same-sex relationships. For well, there is no order of love, because Bert Hellinger wasn't concerned with transgendering. That was not common in his time. And I also think that it has absolutely no impact on family constellation facilitating, because that doesn't matter how they identify. Like, for us, it doesn't matter. we are concerned with the 3 orders of love. That stays the same. One is either a man or a female, can either give an egg or a sperm. I haven't yet not seen anybody who can do both. Yeah. So that's just the way it is. If they have a children, then one is the father and one is the mother, because the one is the father who has had the sperm, and the one is the mother who had the egg. That is simple for us. Yeah. And it is also important that to see in a family constellation if one is who is the mother and who is the father, because we need not because of the dynamics only, but we need also sometimes to follow either the paternal or the maternal line to find an ancestral trauma, an intergenerational trauma. So we need to know, where mothers and where the fathers. That's for us, it is important. And also the representatives, if asked, normally they can tell you clearly if they are a man or a woman. They are normally not confused about that at all. No. So sometimes in the family constellation, I ask a representative when we don't know whom they're representing, but they have a significant role. I ask them, and there's nothing else that gives it away. I ask them, how do you feel, male or female? And they will either say male or female in an instant. They don't need to think about it. So for us, this is not a concern. However, if a client comes who is transgendering or has a same-sex relationship and has a problem, an issue, a partnership issue, it might show an imbalance that is related to transgendering. I don't know, but we will see it. But we are following the orders 1, 2, 3 in order to help them. Yeah. So we don't need to make the transgender a story. Like we never make stories in our work. We always go to the basics. Where is the original trauma? And that means the client has an issue and the family system is sending them. It is might well be that the family system is, you know how some children say, or teenagers especially say, I think I'm born in the wrong, in the wrong body. Like I feel like I'm a girl, but I'm born in the boy's body, something, and then they try to transgender hormones and operations and all of that. But the significant is why are they born the way they are, right? What is the reason for that? And that is where a family constellation can certainly help with. A family constellation can reveal the destiny. Yeah, one has, because the family system is, if they come to family constellation, I have yet to see one. I haven't, no. If you have later on somebody that you are facilitating for, who comes and sees this as a problem that they are transgendering, then you just follow the work, and then it reveals this individual's destiny, yeah, and how to heal that. And that's all we can say about it. So we have not a new theory about it. Yeah?
Maya, I have the situation. Can I constellate that?
Situation.
Yes, my daughter. She
It's
doesn't feel female or male.
She doesn't feel neither.
So someone told me it's because she's probably influenced. She lives in Dunedin. She's probably influenced by other people who feels in that binary or something. And yeah, she told me that now in January. So
How
I've
old
been
is she?
thinking, 20.
She's 20 already.
So my only worry is that she could be taking something to change.
Change to be a man.
Yes, if that's my only worry. But if she wants to say, I feel like a man, that's up to her. I find that that's okay.
Yeah, I find
Yeah.
so too. Yeah. Yeah.
But to be taking things, so I was thinking, I probably constellate that, but
Maybe in a practice workshop, that would be probably would be probably good to see how the representative would
unfold, yeah.
feel. Yeah. All right. So a couple of more slides to go through in regard to relationships. A relationship is only alive through giving and receiving. Without it, there is no relationship. Because relationship is literally, I relate myself to somebody else. Yeah. So I see myself in the other. It's like a mirror. It's reflecting something. Yeah. So this relating is the basis of a relationship. Yeah. And therefore you need two people, obviously, and they need to relate to each other. If they don't do that anymore, relationship is not there. And how do you relate to each other? Through giving and receiving, of course, right? All the things giving that you talked about, time, affection, attention, you know, all that. If you think of a system, for example, the members are captured within a boundary, obviously. There's a system, there's a boundary around that forms the boundary for the system. Yeah, and I like to think of a membrane of the cell of a body that is also containing many, many, many smaller components, but it's contained in a cell. Yeah. Through the membrane of the cells, you might know Dr. Bruce Lipton. He has, wrote a lot about it. Through the membrane of the cells, they are exchanging information, nutrition, prana, energy, in a highly intelligent way, as Lipton says. Yeah, at all times, it doesn't stop. Yeah, so they are forming a system, and the system is a body. And the system bodies are exchanging the same energy with other systems, which is a body. Yeah. And without exchange, we basically cannot survive. The cells tell us that. Yeah. We are born, we are creatures like every other as well, that needs to exchange energy in order to live. No? For example, the greatest torture is solitary confinement for a longer period of time, because one definitely goes mad there or crazy. It is unlivable if there is nothing to exchange. And that is an extreme, of course, but I like to point out the extremes so that we remember when we work, and also for our own lives, and when we observe relationships. Yeah, and that's actually a homework for you to observe relationships in your environment. What do they exchange? What is one giving? What is one receiving? Where is the imbalance? Not talking about it. Don't talk to them about it. They will be probably not friends anymore. But just for you to, as an exercise, to see the signs and to find out where the imbalance is. Laura?
So there's just two things that I need to say.
Yeah.
So the previous slide says prana, energy. And somebody taught me the other day, because I always thought prana was energy, but prana is actually breath.
That's true. Yeah.
And Shakti. Shakti is for energy.
Yeah.
And then there's these people who sit in caves for 3 years by themselves.
Yeah. But
and
they are, they have a very high energy. They don't want to exchange. They don't want a relationship with anybody.
Well,
they want only a relationship with. They want only a relationship with themselves in order to ascend with their higher self.
Maybe they're relating with
God,
with energy.
Yeah.
Maybe they're relating to the whole planet. I mean,
well, we don't know that. Maybe they exchange. I don't know that. I don't know that. But definitely that is not the average John Doe who can survive 3 years in a cave on their own.
Apparently they don't want to leave. When the 3 years is over, they're like,
yeah, if you're a yogi, nothing of what I tell here is related to yogi.
Okay.
They are super
what
beings.
about these people who, you know, often guys who go on these adventures in the ice, or you know, that do their things alone for years on end? Is that, would you say it's usually trauma related?
I would say they are not alone. They relate. There's a nature. There are animals. They are, you know, they are exchanging lots. They eat. They, you know, it's not completely that they are completely on their own. They will relate. They don't need probably um, for that time period people, but eventually they would. Eventually they need to relate to other people as well. I don't know, trauma related. Yeah, if that's a problem for the guy, then they can consolate it. If that's not a problem for the guy, just have good luck. Have fun. You know.
Even
So,
3 years.
yeah.
I have heard of Indian people who goes, yes, to cave, but apparently some other Indian people say that those people, that's their destiny, to go and do that until they
Sure.
die. Yeah.
Until they die, yeah. And
Mm.
some have been found in a meditation position, declared dead, but they are in a deep meditation apparently, yeah, for hundreds of years now. Everything is possible. We are not talking about that. That's not our client, yeah. Let's face it. Okay. So we need to worry about what they do and how they do it. Yeah.
I guess I just have issue with we cannot survive in solitary confinement, because I know that we can.
You can.
Oh, I'm sure I can. And I know other people who can, and people who have been in prison and they have, you know, they weren't enlightened going in or anything like that, or, you know, they learn how to practice in prison.
Well, there's people in prison. They give them food and blah blah blah. It is not that they are on their own, you know. They just don't have somebody sleeping next to them, but they are not on their own.
Well, solitary confinement, you're given
Yeah.
food, right? But it's like slid under the door or something.
I don't know the details, but what I'm referring here to is no exchange to any other beings. Like that is the extreme. If you think about that, that shows you. If you think about extremes, then it makes you realize the rule. Exchange is the basis of relationship. Yeah, that's it. And when you think about the system, then if you know, let's take a system. You can also take a political system or a country or whatever system. Yeah, if they start to exclude other systems, yeah, so they don't exchange on their boundaries. So the boundaries never stop. Every system is part of a bigger system and a bigger system, and they all exchange like the cells do with in the body. Yeah, then this system collapses. For example, I'm from Germany. I have seen it that East Germany collapses because they haven't closed themselves completely, yeah, towards the West. That was like, no exchange, absolute no exchange, nothing they wanted to exchange and to receive and to give, of course, right? And it wouldn't survive, obviously. So that's not the life force that holds us here is exchange of giving and receiving. Families are also systems. Their members exchange permanently information, giving and receiving energy, nourishment, and love. Yeah. And that is why if the love is not flowing, this form of which is the only form of exchange that you see on an energetic level from soul to soul, if you will, yeah, because they obviously don't exchange attention or money or sex or whatever. It is this love we always talk about, love with a capital L, not the romantic love. We're talking about the nourishing love. Yeah. When we talk about the orders of love, always a capital L, not the attachment love, like I love you forever thing. That is the means of exchange within a family system. And that needs to flow and needs to be exchanged in the right order, which we've been taught by Bert Hellinger. That's probably not. So now let's look at unbalanced giving and receiving. Who's giving all the time without allowing others to give them to them, say, better you feel guilty than I. You might know a person in the environment who's permanently pouring out, and when you want to give something back, no, I don't need anything. Something like that. I don't know whether you know somebody. I definitely have met a few of those in my lifetime, and it's very uncomfortable to be with them in a long run. And why is because they don't allow you to give back, because they want to collect, they want to feel better. Yeah, they want to feel better about everything, and that means, that's Bert Hellinger's quote: "Better you feel guilty than I." And then when you have these people who want to help all the time without being asked to do so, right? They are a little bit in the same category, because they are collecting debt. Eventually, if you allow them to help you, eventually they will come back and say, and now you owe me. So these are all very unbalanced relationships, and if one is preventing it to be balanced, then this relationship is toxic and is ending anyhow at one point or the other, hopefully before greater damage is done. Therefore, yes, now we are not in family constellation, but in a day-to-day life situation, if you want to balance out a relationship with a partner, ask them for something they can actually give. As sooner as better. The best immediately. Like, sit here and watch with me this, or can you massage my feet, or shall we cook together, or something that can be done right now. Yeah, so balance is achieved with not too long of a wait. We talked about that. If you ask for something indefinitely, the other doesn't know how to fulfill this demand, and balance cannot occur. Sympathy or pity is not giving and receiving, it divides. Because this is elevating one over the other, right? And that can never be an equal giving and receiving. Yeah. Receiving is often more difficult than giving, and we talked about that in the first part. That is because of the different conscience and programming and conditioning issues that we are facing. Okay, we've done our exercise already at the end of before the break, so I can stop sharing that here.
Can you just go back to the second slide when sympathy and pity divide, and then there was one thing after that?
Okay, let me see. Sympathy and pity divide. Yeah, you see it in the recording anyhow. Receiving is often more difficult than giving.
Okay.
Due to this consciousness issues that we grew up with. Okay, so more on time today, which is great. That was now the first module. Lots of information, I know. A lot of information. But the good news is you have a whole month to digest it, and you can start to rewatch the video recordings by the end of the week, most likely, or I will probably be able to do that at least after the next weekend. And then you have, if you want to, time to rewatch the videos, and I highly recommend it because we were in the future modules, next module, module 2, we will refer back to some information from module 1, right? So it would be good if you keep it in your mind, and if you learn the most important information, and we will during our gatherings also repeat a few information, so they stick better, but in the end it's just a study like everything else, right? reading, understanding, explaining it to yourself or into the mirror or something in this way, you know, if you have understood it. Yeah. Very good. Okay.
I have a question.
Any last word? Yeah, Katharina?
Question?
Yeah? I didn't hear
Sorry,
you.
I had just one question. I had in my calendar next week from 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock the session, family consultation session. What is this session? Sorry.
I
the
think it's a
As
practice
in-
workshop,
Mhm.
isn't it? Yeah.
Is that on the 9th?
Yes.
Saturday
Yeah.
the 9th? And then
Mm.
is there
So
something
it's for
happening?
us.
Yes.
What is
Yeah,
the
it's for you.
Okay.
Yeah. The practice workshops are for each trainee. So it doesn't matter if you have done the first 3 modules or not. The attending, you have to attend to 6 practice workshops anyhow, and the practice workshops are the most valuable part of the whole training, because you learn what to see and how to facilitate it, because I am commenting on it. I'm not doing that in the open workshops, obviously. So there is where you observe for your own, but in the practice workshops, I'm explaining what you see. Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is the most valuable part, other than the modules, I'd say, of the training. So it would be not advisable to miss out on the practice workshops a lot. Yeah, so make it a priority. Come to the practice workshops, and when we have gone through the first 3 modules, then you can also facilitate on the practice workshops. Yeah.
And what can you repeat the time? And it's Saturday the 9th. At what time?
I don't know.
6
It's
till
in the
9.
question. What?
6 to 9.
6?
I
Is
think
that in
6
the
till
evening?
9.
Is it in the evening?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
what it says.
Let me check. I think so.
Yeah, it would be the evening, 6 to 9.
Is that on the list there as well, on the Kereru group thing, is it? Or where do we find these?
It showed up on my Google
Calendar.
calendar.
On the calendar.
It showed up
Yeah,
on my
I haven't quite figured that calendar out.
Oh,
He
Are
gave
you
you some
logged-
instructions of how to download it or something like that.
are you logged in with your Gmail? That's the most important part. You have a Gmail?
Yeah, I'm in there. I mean, I can open it up. You know, the site, and there's the Kereru.
Do you see the calendar with dates in there?